this is the original bolster, and if I run a transfer punch, through there, I don't know how easy it is to see on camera, but it is definitely tilted like that. And if I put a square over the ends, you can see there's a fair amount of air on the left hand side, and that's repeated on the bottom too. And I think that's going to be the source of my problems there. So I think there's nothing to do but remake it. This is the casting from the previous video. This is a chucking spigot, so you would hold this in the chuck. We will ultimately try and turn this down, put a thread on here, and then face this surface at the same time. Now, this is an integral bogie pin, and you'll notice in the background we've already made a bogie pin. But I thought, since this is here and my lathe is already set up to cut 26 TPI, I may as well give it a shot, and if it doesn't work, I can just cut it off and there's nothing lost really. I've measured the thickness of this bogie from top to bottom, and it's 993 thou, which means it's 56 thou over in thickness. Now I could increase the length of the shank of the bogie pin on that casting by that amount, by that 53 thou. But then we got two things that are out. So I'm thinking, in line with both Adam Crow and Kev from Mr. Factotum's workshop, to try and get as much things close to the drawing as possible, rather than machining that incorrectly. I'm going to machine that exactly per the drawings, and then I'm going to take this apart, and when I derust it, I'll have to take it apart anyway, take this apart and then shave this down by the 53 thou that it needs to be. It's dialed into about 30 thou across the plate here. That's not perfect, obviously, but it is quite a rough casting, and there's lots of undulation in it, and you can see here how bent this is. This needs to come down to 5/8 of an inch, but first we need to take the end off, center drill it, and get some support in there first. Okay, another little glitch. The tool dug in a bit, and I think it's just because it's just not a very good grip on this spigot here. I tried to file it down, as you saw, but it's rough, and the areas of contact are pretty low. So what I've done is I've got the back face of this hard up against the jaws, and the actual bogie pin gripped in the 3 jaws. I've now got a what's this, right hand turning tool, left hand turning tool, but in the right hand position, to get inside here and just clean up this, get this parallel to the back, so I don't have to keep worrying about setting it out properly. Right, we are exactly one and a bit thou over, which is perfect. I'm going to be super gentle. It's got clearance on both sides. I'm going to take down this section here to the required diameter, and then I'm going to very, very gently attack this face. Okay, this is looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. So this now needs to be machined to length and the thread cut on the end. This part of the pin machining you've seen already in part 12, where I turned it between centers. It's going to be exactly the same thing. I'm going to turn this section down to 1/2 inch, then I'm going to screw cut this section here. So I'll time lapse you through it, but I'm not going to walk through any of the steps I'm doing. And then when we next come to talk to each other, we'll be hopefully looking at the sides here after we've test fit this. Well, I've just trimmed the end down a little bit here. I was going to leave it over long, but I figured no, if we're doing it to the drawing, let's do it to the drawing. So it's now 1/2 inch. Got a nice 15/16 here. And time to take this out of the chuck and get these two sides machined here. It's going to be a whole new challenge. Exciting stuff, eh? Well, this really doesn't look too bad at all, does it, after 24 hours in the evaporust? I'll need to take it apart to get this section out so I can machine it down to the right thickness. And also I'll need to replace these with countersunk bolts, countersunk screws. I'm not entirely sure why they're like this, but they catch on the back of the wheels. And the drawings suggest that these should be countersunk, so I guess I'll be doing that at the same time. Here is the soup under which the axles and wheels are currently in. I hope they come out nice too. Not looking great now, are they? I'm going to use a file to try and just take off the very top edges of this stuff here and try and get it roughly flat. I'm going to be facing this in the mill. It would just be nice to get most of the major burrs off beforehand. This is my setup for the bogie bolster in the mill, and I've indicated off this back edge, which I filed flat and then worked out on the surface plate. And if I traverse it across, there's a bit of a wiggle just around that section there. Sorry for the camera shake. Where we end up with is just about where we started, on 0. So I'm going to tighten this up and get cutting. So we have this set up. I did take a test cut along the back side here just to make sure I wasn't going to make a complete fool of myself, and that went pretty well, but just to clean up the surface. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this surface finish. I'm going to try and use some maths to figure out how much I should be taking off this going forward. This spigot in the middle is 1/2 inch, or 1 thou over 1/2 inch. So the overall distance between this face and the face opposite should be 4 1/8. Therefore, between this face and the middle of the spigot should be 2 1/16. The spigot is 1/2 inch in diameter, so if I'm measuring to the other side of the spigot, I need half of that diameter, i.e. the radius, which should be 1/4 inch. So I know that this should, the reading that I'm looking at here should be 2 and then 1/16 plus 1/4 inch, so 2 5/16, which should be 2.3125, and we're at 2.369. So we've got about 56 thou-ish to take off from this face, and then we know that that face is exactly the right distance away from the center of the spigot, and the center of the spigot is what we chucked up with relation to the bogie pin, so we know that the bogie pin is then central to these two faces. So 56 thou off this face should get us into a good position. Let's do it.